Hi, welcome back to Python class. I am Onoyemi Akim and we'll be looking at functions in Python. A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You can pass data known as parameters into a function. A function can return data as a result. So these are the things we are going to check out one after the other. How to call a function, how to create a function, how to use a function with parameters, and how to make a function to return a data. So first, let's create a function. How do you create a function? The first thing we are going to make use of is the def uh, keyword, which is called definition. Def followed by the name of the function we want to create. We can use any name to create the function. So I'm going to use my car. So that is the function name I want to create. Then I'll put the bracket in front of it with a diacritic. Then you press enter. This way you have created a function. The next thing you want to do is to write what that function will do under it with a tab. Can you see that? So there must be an indentation under it. Then if I call this function, what did I want it to say? I want it to say print hello, do you need a car? This is what I want that function to say once I call it. So this is how to create a function. Now let's look at how we can call the function. How can we call this function? We can call this function by saying my car. That's all. And it will give us what is under it that was indented under it. So if you write several code, block of code under that function that you want the function to perform, the same thing will happen. Once you call it, it will start performing all those functions. So what I only ask it to do is to print hello, do you need a car? You understand? And immediately I call the function, it says, do you need a car? Then a function with a parameter is a function that you declare with an argument. You declare it with an argument. Information can be passed into function as argument. Arguments are specified after the function name. Inside the parentheses, you can add as many arguments as you want. Just separate them with a comma. Now, we are going to look at this example one after the other. First, we are going to define a function. Let's say def my what? My argument, arg. We want to use that as function. Then we want to give it a we want to give it an argument. So we can just say first name. So then put this. We indent. We want to print first name. So we say print, then we put first name, or let me just say my name is my name is then you put the first name. Also don't forget to put your concatenation. Yes, this will make it easier, and let me put a space here so that it can create a space being once it's passing out the information. Now I want to call this function to give my name. Now I will say my arg in brackets. Now if I call it this way, it will tell me an argument is needed. Let's see. Can you see that it says missing one required positional argument f name, which means I must specify the name if I actually want that function to work. So I will try to put a name now and say my name is Ademola Code. So if I call it now, it's going to answer my call by saying my name is Ademola Code. Can you see that? So the argument here, this Ademola code I put inside the string and the parenthesis here is passed into this elf name, then sent to this place to be able to display the information for me. If I say again that okay, my arg and I put dog, it will come again and say my name is dog. I go again and I put aeroplane, come and say my name is aeroplane. Whatever variable you put inside that argument, inside that function when you are calling it, in order to replace the argument name, will automatically take up the name you sent into the function and bring it out as an output. So that is how to make use of argument with your function. Then parameters or arguments. The term parameters and argument can be used for the same thing. Information that are passed into a function is either it is a parameter or it is an argument. From a function perspective, a parameter is the variable listed inside the parenthesis in the function definition. The variables that you list inside the parenthesis are the function are the parameters that they are the one we regard as parameters inside the functions. Then an argument is the value that is set to the function when it is called. So like what we have done now, the f name, we've set the f name to be to be an argument, which is what we've set. So as long as we keep on putting a value in that function, it will send it to the argument to display. Exactly now. But the variables we will soon get to parameters, how we can make use of them and every other one. So once you have more than one argument, then you can others might be parameters that you need to carry out some functions in the block of code inside the function. So numbers of argument that you can have. By default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments. If you have 5 arguments in your function, for example in this one now we have just one f name. If we have like 5 arguments, my let's say def ohio, I will now put a comma b comma c. These are parameters that we pass into it, and we can also call them arguments. Is that clear now? Now this argument is 3, right? Then I have defined a function. I want this function to sum equals to a plus b minus c, and I want it to print sum. Now, if I am going to specify, if I'm going to call this function, I must ensure that I provide complete argument numbers. I have three argument numbers there. If I produce two, it will tell me it's missing one argument. If I produce one, it will tell me it's missing two arguments. So there must be the argument here, or the parameters in your function must be equal to the number of values you will provide. And you cannot provide more than that. I can't provide four function and it's going to three parameters or arguments. So let's try that out one after the other. First, I want to call this function with single argument. So I will say ohio 2. Can you see? Ohio missing two required positional arguments B and C. If I call again and I say ohio, comma 4, can see again ohio missing one required positional argument C, which means it is not complete. So I will try the one for 4 now. I will put 4 and I say 1, 5. It will tell me again that ohio takes 3 positional arguments, but 4 were given, meaning I can't provide more than 4. I can only provide 3 arguments. Now, if I now go ahead and say, okay, this is this is it, I want it 3, and I say this, it will give me the solution immediately, which is 1. So A plus B will give us 6. 6 minus C, which is 5, will give us 1. And that is why we have 1 as our output. That is how to use multiple arguments in your function. So also, we have arbitrary arguments, and mind you, arguments can be represented in this form, args. This is what we call args, and we call something keyword. So you can put star whatever argument you want to provide. Let's see how it works. We call this arbitrary argument. Once you see a star on it, it is called an arbitrary argument. If you do not know how many arguments that will be passed into your function, add is add an asterisk before the parameters. Add an asterisk before the parameter name in the function you define. This way, the function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access item accordingly. Now, what this is saying is that you don't know the numbers of arguments that function can receive, but you want it to receive a lot of arguments. You can just use asterisk with an argument name, then you pass your function to it. By so doing, it will give you a tuple of a tuple of data which you can access one after the other. Let's try that out. So you can say, let's define an argument def. Let me scroll up. Def class. Def class class, then we have this. We don't know the numbers of arguments to pass, so we are going to say star cow. You can use anything as your argument name, it doesn't matter. I'm only using random words, but when you are writing code, when you are working on a project, try to use a name that you can easily recall, a name that can be readable, a name that other programmers can read and understand when they want to work on your code. So try to use such thing. So, but here as per the training we have the liberty to use any names just to use and understand what we are trying um to discuss. So now we have this arbitrary argument. Now the next thing we want to, let's say, print this print the youngest child is plus, we are concatenating now, plus, let's just put the car here. Let's see the output first. Then I will still say print then car location 0, print car location 1, and then print car location 2. Now indirectly I want to pass in 3 arguments, but I have just 1 argument variable in the function. Now what are we trying to do? Let's look at it. Now we have defined our function. The first print is to print all everything so that we can know how it's going to print, and that will make us to understand why we are checking through each name by using the list, by using the index to check them. So now let me call the function by saying class, and I will put names like John, comma, John Tosin, and Mike. Alright, now if I press enter, says, can you see this? Can only concatenate string, not tuple. That's the first one, because the first one is a tuple. It says can only concatenate string, not a tuple. So we are going to rewrite it now. Probably I will say you should just print the car, then other ones will be followed. So let's quickly go back and say def car, then we have this. Okay, we have this. Oh, alright, let me quickly clear this and we start over. That's quit. That the screen will not be messed up. Alright. Okay. Now let's find the variable we say what? Class, and we have the arbitrary argument as car. Alright. So next we want to print car. Let's print our car. The next thing we want to print the youngest child is, so we say car location 0, then car location 1, car location 2. Alright. So let's call the argument and we say class. We have the class, the child we say John, comma, Tosin, comma, Mike, and that is that. Can you see that? We have them displayed. If you look at the first line, we have John, Tosin, Mike in a tuple. That's to say that what? The type of data that will be passed if there is an arbitrary argument whereby you don't know the number of arguments to be passed, it's going to give you it's going to give you a tuple, going to give you a tuple, and you can, once you are able to identify that is a tuple, then you can now try to locate by indicating their index or location to get them. So the youngest child is John, the youngest child is Tosin, the youngest child is Mike, just because we identify each of them one after the other. So that is how to identify with your argument. Then keyword argument. We can also use keyword, or we say keyworded argument. What do you mean by keyword argument? By saying key equals value. That is a keyword argument. And the syntax is a key and a value to be assigned. Now, for example, we say, uh, okay, let me use this variable also that we just finished using, the class. We will use that function again, and we are going to make it a keyworded argument by giving it this name. Sorry. So we are going to say A equals John. Can you see that? Okay, let me just define a new variable so that it will be easier for us to get our information. So um, in this case, we are defining a new function. So we say def the name of the function. Let's pick um let me say name function, name func. Yes, we have this. Then we want to have three variables. I mean three arguments in it. So we say name one, comma, name two, comma, name three. All right. So now we want it to print. We want it to print their names. Exactly now. We want it to print their name. Printing their name, let's see how it's going to be. Print the youngest child is, then we say name one. That is if we want name one. Mind you, we are to provide the three keywords for this response to occur. But in this case, I just want to make sure that we see all the names being printed. So I'm going to repeat the print, and put their names. So uh, print print the youngest is name one. Okay, then the second one name two. All right, third one name three. Now these are the names. Enter. I call the function name func. We have name one equals to Shola. Can you see that? Then that is what we call keyworded argument, a keyword argument. So name two equals Shola, and name three equals Shola. Now, once I press enter, it's going to call the function and also give us the printout. Can you see that? The youngest is Jola, the youngest is Bola, the youngest is Shola. So this is how to make use of keyword argument. So is either you write it this way to call your to pass argument to your function, or you write it this way to pass argument to your function. Any of the two is okay by the system. Okay. Then remember, the first value when you are dealing with a keyword argument, the first value is always default. So maybe you want to put value like 0, 1, 2. So the first value will be default. Whatever you put in the first value is default. So you can always specify your keyword argument or provide the right value if you want to make use of your argument. And we often short keyword argument to this: star star KWARGS. So this is keyword argument and we have argument. So they are both arbitrary this thing. So this is args and this is keyword args. So that's how to write them. When you see it, maybe you are coding and you run into error and this write up shows star star KWARGS and some information. Just try to read through, you get to know what is going on in your error statement. All right. So it is also an arbitrary keyword argument. Those are the two keyword arguments that are arbitrary. Then we can put a default parameter value. We can put a default parameter value. How can we default our parameter? Like now, let's declare another function def my param. So let's do it that way so that we'll be able to remember that okay, we want to declare a parameter default. So we can say country equals Norway. All right. So Norway is the country we have declared as default. Now in this situation, either we provide variable, we provide the country name, or we don't provide a country name, is going to give us Norway as an output. Sorry, either if we provide country name, it's going to give us that country name we provided. But if we don't provide country name, automatically it will give us Norway as our output because we have defined Norway as a default value for the param. So going forward, we have this as our, then we say print I am from, then our variable name is what? Country. Now if we call this function, we are going to have my param. Let's call it empty. Let's see the output. You can see I am from Norway because we didn't put any value inside it. But if we call it again and I put Nigeria, instantly we have I am from Nigeria. So any country you put in it is called is sent to the variable and to the argument and instantly call out the information. All right. So how can we pass a list as an argument? What if we want to pass a list as an argument? We can pass a list as an argument by defining a function. Let's quickly define a function: def my food func. Okay, then we give it a name, food. That is just the name we want to provide. Then We do this. After that, we want it to perform some iterations. Once the function is called, an iteration should be called. So we say for x in food. What next? We want to print x, right? Then that's all. Now let's call our function my food func, right? Then inside this food func, we want it to be an array. So first we have to declare a food. Let's say fruit is equals to, then we declare a list. Since we are passing a list, say list, we have apple, we have mango, we have pawpaw. Then we can now call our function by saying my food func. Okay, before we run it, let me scroll up so that we can see it clearly. So my food func, and what are we passing? We want to pass fruit inside that function. We say fruit. Now this fruit is passed into this function. Immediately this function is called, it will come here. This food will collect this fruit as a parameter, then come down here, a loop will be carried on, then it will print the function. Can you see that? So that is the work of calling a function with a list and performing some operations inside the function before the output will be given out. So you can see that we have apple, mango and pawpaw as our output. So then the last but not the least that we are going to talk about, okay, I don't think that is the last. Well, let's quickly look at returning value. How can you return a value with a function? First, let's declare a function def my function, my func. Okay, we want to return a value, we want to return x. Fine. Then we indent and say return 5 times x. Now let's call the function. We say was print my func print my func 3. That's our x. So when we do this, we are going to have 5 times 3 giving us 15. Can you see that it has returned the x as our output? When you are coding, returning here will come in another dimension when we are applying it to a real life application, but when we get there, we get to know it better. All right. So now that is how to return a function. Then how can you pass statements? So let's quickly look at the pass statement. Using the pass statement, we've used pass in if, we've used it in for, we've used it in while. So we can also use it under a function too by doing what? Def my func, then you do this, immediately you put pass, and that's all. So when you are defining a function, it cannot be empty. You must make sure there is something that occur under that function. So if you have nothing to carry out under the function, you can easily put pass statement to avoid getting an error, and that's why we have this pass statement. Because if we do like this and we just say enter, you can see that it says there's an error. So when we define function like this and we say pass, enter, nothing will be done. That is all. There won't be any error and everything will go smoothly. Then recursion. In Python, there is what we call recursion, and Python also accept function recursion, which means a defined function can call itself. Exactly now. A defined function can call itself. Recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept. It means that a function call itself. This has the benefit of meaning that you can loop through data to reach a result. As a developer, you should be very careful with recursion, as it can be quite easy to slip into writing a function which never terminates, or one that uses excess amount one that uses excess amount of processor or power or the memory. However, when writing correctly, recursion can be very efficient and mathematically elegant approach to programming. Now, we are going to try how to make use of recursion in this tutorial. For example, we are going to make use of try recursion is a function that we have defined to call itself. Exactly now. So we are going to define a function try recursion which should have been defined by itself. So we are going to define a function. So we use the k variable as the data, which decrements -1 every time we recurse. The recursion ends when the condition is greater than 0, that is when it is 0. To a new developer, you can take some time to work out how exactly this works. Best way is to find out is by testing and modifying your code. Okay, let's quickly look at how to use the try recursion. Now, we say define try recursion, and our variable is k. All right. Now we indent if k is equals to, or let me say less than, if k is greater than 0, we have what? Result. Result equals k plus try recursion. And that is k minus 1. Now, the next thing we have to do is to check. We indent again and say print. That's the next thing we want it to do, print results. We want our recursion to print result, else our else statement will be under the if. Take note of that and try to monitor your indentation as you are writing your code. The else statement, then we indent again results is equals to 0, then we return results. That is all we are going to write. Then the next thing is print on a new line, say back backslash n. Backslash n means new line, backslash n mean new line. So backslash backslash n, we have recursion, example, result. Thereafter, now let's call our function now. We say try recursion, and the value we want to put in the recursion is 6. So when we call our function, we are going to see the output of the recursion. So we are going to see the output of the recursion and what it has in stock for us. So let's call it. Now it says try recursion 1. Track then we ran into error. What is the error saying? Trackback most line, okay. Line 3, plus ratio, int and non-type, okay. Unsupported operand, type S for plus. Where is that? Normally we're supposed to have 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, but I don't know where the issue is coming from. Okay. Print results, else result equals 0, return results. So in that case, I think where we have issue is it's not clearly stated, but in the try recursion there is a particular int or and a non-type that is throwing this error, which I'm going to look into later. Thank you and have a wonderful day.